Welcome to the Dirt Bike Channel podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Brotherson, and today I want to take you on a journey. Maybe it's not so much of a journey, maybe I just want to tell you a story. The story is riding alone. Okay, so it's not so much of a story as it is a topic. We're going to talk about riding alone, whether or not you should do it. Maybe some of the things you ought to think about. Some of the things you might want to bring in your pack. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people wonder if you should ride alone at all. I get this question all the time. People will email in and they say, hey, do you ride alone? I was just talking to a gentleman's wife yesterday. Really neat lady. She just reached out and she said, hey, I got some questions for my husband. He's one of your big fans. We're going to try to figure out something for his birthday. But she even had that question. She was like, if my husband decides to go ride alone, is that going to be a problem? And I'm like, hey, look. In fact, she asked me, she's like, do you ever ride alone? And I'm like, I try not to ride alone except for all the times that I do. I do ride alone. The truth is, if I didn't ride alone, I wouldn't ride a lot. And part of that is because, as funny as this sounds, I didn't get into dirt bikes to make new friends. I didn't get into dirt bikes to make it into a business. I got into dirt bikes because I like to be alone. And I figured, hey, if I go up in the mountains, if I go up in the hills, if I go out in the desert, a dirt bike is a great way to do that. And I can, kind of get centered. And it's been reinforced to me over and over again over the course of the last 10 years or so, how helpful it is to me and how centering it is to me to ride dirt bikes and to get that one-on-one time with me and nature. But a lot of people worry about that, and they're like, hey, something could happen to me. I was just talking to one of my friends yesterday who broke their femur recently while riding dirt bikes. And they had their brothers with them, and so it wasn't a big deal. They also had like a Garmin InReach, a way to contact emergency services. They were out of cell phone coverage at that moment. And I carry either a Garmin InReach satellite communicator, or recently I've been carrying a Zoleo, which is the same type of a thing. It's a satellite communicator where, you can make SOS calls, you can check in with your family, you can make SOS calls, and get emergency responders. And this gentleman, he got a $26,000 helicopter ride because he broke his femur. Just crazy stuff. And I was just talking to him yesterday about it and asking him a ton of questions. The chances of me, I've been involved. I've seen a couple helicopter rides so far. I haven't been involved. I haven't actually been the recipient of that ride. But I probably have a higher probability of having to take a life flight or, medevac extraction than the average person. And I'm fine with that. But I'm taking calculated risks. And this is the thing about riding alone. Some people are just never going to do it. They're like, it's not worth the risk. And for me, it is worth the risk because I need that kind of recharging, that, that emotional or spiritual and physical recharging of going out and ride. And I don't get energized by groups. Those that know me probably the most maybe know and maybe not. I haven't really talked about this a lot. I've just kind of been realizing it recently that while I have extroverted qualities for sure. Mostly I'm an introvert, and if I'm around groups, it's draining. It's physically, emotionally draining. And so I need that time to kind of be alone to recharge. And that's one of the things that dirt bikes has given me, is the ability to just go out and be by myself and listen to the sound of nature without anyone else around. Now, I know that a lot of times I'm riding and pushing or whatever, but when I stop, I get some, benefit from that. And I also I know that I'm alone. Even if I'm ripping on the bike, I know that I'm alone and I'm kind of getting that recharging there. And also group rides are fun. I don't like big group rides. I'm more of hey, 3 or 4 is the maximum, but I have had fun on larger in larger groups as well. But the topic is, should you ride alone? And I say, well, that definitely comes down to your own personal preference. I certainly ride alone a lot. And I've got other riding buddies that ride alone. I've got some riding buddies that won't ride alone at all. They won't go unless they can go with other people. And that's fine too. Everybody's got to make the decision for themselves. Technically, is it safer if you have, at least one buddy or whatever? Yeah. And there are places and there are places we've gone or times that we've gone where I'm just like, I'm not going to go down this alone. And that's kind of another thing that you have to kind of take into consideration is, when I go riding alone, I kind of dial it back just a little bit. And I don't push quite as hard. The flip side though, is then when you do get with other people, maybe then you're pushing a little bit harder and you might make mistakes and get hurt. But the point is, there are some places and some trails that I simply just wouldn't go on, or things I wouldn't do if I'm alone. Then on the flip side too, if nobody's there, then I can just take my time and I don't need to push myself, and I can just really, really take my time and pick my way through something really slowly and be very patient and be very methodical about it. And so there's things that you can do either way that you decide. Me personally, I do ride alone probably half the time, if not maybe a little bit more than half the time. And it's worked out pretty well so far. I carry the inReach, I carry my cell phone. I also carry a lot of stuff in my riding pack that probably not a lot of people are doing. I carry stuff like multiple ways to start a fire. I actually carry even fire tinder, like some stuff that really helps. Not only do I have like a lighter and like a ferro rod in my riding pack, so I have two different ways typically to start fires. I also have some kindling in there. It's like this little stuff that's in a Ziploc bag that would help start fire or start wood if all your wood was wet. Because I've been caught in places where I wanted to start a fire and just couldn't find anything dry. So I have ways to make a fire. I have a life bivvy, which is basically like a little sleeping bag that doesn't have any insulation. I have a water filter or two in my pack. I have, some ibuprofen typically. I have like an allergy pill usually. There have been a couple times where I've been like, holy crap, all of a sudden juniper trees or whatever are just kind of like making my nose run like crazy. I have a saw, a hand saw in there to cut things down. Just a lot of just some emergency stuff. Not a lot, not like an overwhelming amount of stuff, but I have tools. I have water. I typically have extra food and snacks and things. And the whole reason is, I just want to be prepared. The chance of me having to spend a night somewhere at some time, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. Now, will I have to spend the entire night because I've got these GPS communicators? Maybe not, but it's also possible that I would. And so I'm carrying this other stuff kind of as a contingency. If you're the type of rider that doesn't want to carry anything on your back, and I've got tools and parts for my bike and various things. I'm not going to go into the whole list. I'd have to have my riding pack here, and the riding pack's out in the truck. But I've got a whole list of things. And if you're not going to ride with that stuff and you're not going to carry that stuff and you just want to put like a small little teeny water bladder in your pack or even just one water bottle or nothing at all. I've also seen people way out in the middle of nowhere that aren't even carrying a riding pack and have nothing on their bike. Then that's probably not a good idea. If you're that type of person that isn't going to be prepared and isn't going to have contingency plans and backup plans and stuff, then no, I don't think you should ride alone. But also, I should say as well, if you're that type of rider that isn't being that much prepared, then you're probably not the person I want to go in the riding group either, because that means we're just going to be babysitting you if something happens. If anything happens to your bike, we're going to have to be the ones to carry, have the tools or whatever. And it's funny too, because like one of my really, really good riding buddies, Tyler, I know he's got plenty of tools. He's got tire plugs. He's got different things. And so sometimes when I go riding with him, I'll carry a drone or I'll carry some extra camera stuff. And sometimes I'll say, hey, you got tools, right? And I will take the tool pack. It's kind of like a separate, container. I'll take my tool pack out of my riding pack just to drop some of the weight to compensate for whatever cameras I've got. But when I'm alone, I carry whatever camera it is, whatever drones it is, and I carry all the tools, all the water, all the stuff. And I carry 3 liters of water or, between 2.5 and 3 liters of water every time I go anywhere because you just never know what's going to happen. Most of the time I don't go through that much water. Sometimes I do. But if if you break a leg or you do something to your knee or whatever, heaven forbid, you'd really want that water pretty bad, And so I just I know it's going to be heavy. My riding pack is anywhere between 16 to 21 pounds, depending on what's in it, and what I have that day. But it's heavy. And luckily, your back is strong and your legs are strong, and you just kind of get used to it and you settle in, and then it's okay. But yeah, it's a choice to ride alone or to not ride alone. And it's a tricky thing for a lot of guys. And some guys just won't do I have people that are texting me saying, hey, let me know when you go ride because I won't ride alone and I have a hard time finding people to go with. And I can totally relate to that. A lot of times my riding trips are, spur of the moment or whatever. And I try to go riding in the middle of the week purposely just to kind of avoid the crowds. That's one of the things that I do with DBC. I try not to do my riding on Saturday unless, once the kids are in school, I'll do some riding on Saturday, so that I can go out with the boys. But if it's just me or a riding buddy, I try to do it during the week when the crowds aren't busy and the trailheads aren't busy and I don't bump into a ton of people. I love talking to people when I meet them, but I'm definitely not going to drive right into a crowd of people and say, hey, I'm Kyle with Dirt Bike Channel. That's just not because I didn't do this to become famous or a celebrity or anything. Not that I am, but some people say like, oh, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. I'm like, you're not talking to a celebrity. You're just talking to a regular dude who's just like you, who's passionate about dirt bikes, passionate about this stuff. And I don't seek the spotlight for sure. It's one of the downsides of doing this is getting recognized in certain places. But yeah, it's a good time to go out and go riding. And I do suggest that we all need to kind of look at our riding packs and try to decide, what's in here, do an audit of it. In fact, I need to do an audit of mine here. I probably should right after this is over and just do an audit of my my tool kit, make sure that I've got the stuff that I need in there. Because every once in a while you'll pull something out and you won't replenish it, especially like tire plugs. I use tubeless on most of my bikes. And what that means is, every few rides or however long, every so often I'm putting tire plugs in my tires. And then sometimes I forget to replenish those. And so I get kind of low on the tire plugs. And every once in a while you need to put, several tire plugs in to a tire in order to get back on a ride. Yesterday, in fact, moving to a different subject, I'm kind of a tire snob. For those of you that aren't aware, I'm a tire snob and I don't like to run tires very long. I like to run tires anywhere between 10 and 20 hours. I know that might sound crazy to some people, because I know some people that run those tires for 40, 50, 60 hours. I am not that guy anymore. I'm fairly good at changing tires, especially with tubeless. It isn't a big deal to me. And so what I want the very, very best performance that can possibly happen from that tire. And once it's kind of worn off of its best performance, then I'm like, I'm kind of ready to try a new thing. And so yesterday, that was kind of what I noticed. It was my 300 XCW. The last time I rode the bike, I had to put a couple tires or a couple plugs in the tire. That's what made me think of it. And I was just decided I'm going to switch. And it was really easy because I just put on my spare wheel set. The tires the wheels that were on my bike were the spare wheel set. And I had already installed a couple of brand new tires that I haven't used before. It's the IRC, I think it's the JX8 Gakota, super, super gummy tire. I installed it on my rim a long time ago, but I hadn't, put it on the bike. So that's what's on the rear of that bike. And then on the front is the IRC M5B Evo. It's an 8100 tire. Should be pretty cool. I'm interested to try that out. But if I was always going like 60 hours on all these tires, I wouldn't get to try very many things. And so if I'm only going 10 or 20 hours, then it's easier for me to move through different tires of different types and everything. Especially where, I'm splitting time on 4 to 6 bikes at a time, then I don't have the time to run it for 20, 30, 40 hours on that because I wouldn't be able to get through and try anything different. So I have some favorite tires, and then I'm always trying to rotate in a new tire, either a front or a rear, and see if I can tell anything from it. And that's one of the things that I'm doing. So here real soon, I need to, I'm going to get some time on that IRC JX8. Just thinking about the tire plugs. The other thing I really need to finish right now, though, is I need to put some more time and some more testing on the, it's the Craftmoto plush tank. It's on my 250XC. And again, this is another problem because I was riding different bikes for different purposes. And then one time I went out on my 250XC with that plush tank installed, the last time I rode it, and I rode it the entire day without ever even changing like plush to firm. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a newbie. Cause I just ran the thing on plush the entire time. I was riding with a buddy Dave from Texas, and he had a Sherco, and I rode a Sherco for a little bit. And then I got back on my KTM, and I realized I didn't even do anything with the plush tank other than run it on plush instead of running on plush and firm. It's got a little valve on there. Some of you guys might have seen this. I think it's a pretty cool product, but I need to test it some more. The next time I go riding with it, maybe tomorrow, I'll take it out. I just need to swap. Just need to keep switching the thing. Switching from plush to firm, and seeing what I can tell. And so maybe hopefully I'll get out and do that tomorrow. So that is something that I need to get done. And most likely I'm going to be alone tomorrow. That's another thing that happens is if I'm going to go and do filming and riding and try to get shots off the bike, on the bike, honestly, I end up going alone a lot because I feel I hate slowing a ride down, and I hate, be like, hey, stop, can we stop up here and let me swap? And what happens is I'm trying to hurry so much because I am, trying to get a drone out and trying to make it not seem like I'm slowing everybody down, or put down put a camera down on the ground and set a tripod up or whatever. And I kind of hate it when I'm riding with other people most of the time. When I'm slowing everybody down like that. So a lot of if I am going to do some heavy duty, I use air quotes, some heavy duty filming, I'm almost always alone. I just don't feel comfortable. I don't like making people wait, for those things. So tomorrow I got to decide if I'm going to take with me a drone, or if I'm going to have take a camera with me, like a better camera to put down on the ground. I'll probably take the drone because I haven't done a ton of drone shots this year. I just haven't shot a lot with the drone. So I got to decide where to go and which camera to take, if I'm taking a drone or if I'm taking my Sony AS7 III with maybe a 24 millimeter lens. I've got a cute little 24 millimeter lens. It's still a 2.8 aperture, but it's really small. And I stick it on the Sony and can get some good shots. Right now on the Sony, I've got an FE 1.4 35 millimeter. I love that lens, but it's just a little bit too big for me to want to carry it in my riding pack, especially if I'm going to be riding alone, because I'm going to have all this other stuff. And I'm like, dang, that's probably too big for that pack. But anyway, so that's kind of what I had for you today. I know that a lot of you really worry about riding alone. I just do. I just ride alone sometimes. I dial it back a little bit. I carry a lot of extra stuff, and it's worked out for me so far. I haven't died yet. So maybe you want to carry an InReach. Maybe you want to carry a Zoleo. I do recommend the Zoleo. I have links for the Zoleo. I just reviewed it online on my YouTube channel. It's in the feed there. But it's like, you got to get this. It might save your life. Zoleo product review. You can go check that out. And I have an Amazon link to go purchase that. Then once you've got the device for about $200, then you just pick of their 3 subscription plans. I chose the lowest one, and that's what it is. What's funny is after I did the video on that, Zoleo saw that and they reached out to me. There's an email in my inbox. They want to chat with me. So anyway, I probably should have a chat with them, but that's what I still have no connection with them. So maybe I'll get them to sponsor a podcast or something. We'll see. So that's what's going on. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. Just kind of getting back into a little bit of a routine here because the kids are going back to school. They're gone back to school. And so now it's maybe a little easier for me and my wife to kind of figure out and just get a grasp on what's going on and what we're up to. I don't know if any of you guys or guys and gals can relate to that, but man, summers are freaking nuts. We've got a 16-year-old, 13-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and summers are just nuts for us, and it's only getting worse. I don't even know where the time goes. It's crazy. So, but it is August 24th. Also, if you want to support Dirt Bike Channel, one of the best ways you can do it is use my links for Rocky Mountain ATV. I have them in the video description of all my YouTube videos, but you can go to dirtbikechannel.com. That's my website, and I have a links button up in the upper right-hand corner somewhere. Typically, you can use that, buy your parts. Right now, if you use those links, it also qualifies you to get entries. You get entries into my Dirt Bike Channel sweepstakes through the month of August. I'm giving away a dirt bike, so go to my website, dirtbikechannel.com. Get your entries because you're going to win a KTM. I'm going to bring somebody out to Utah. I'm going to pay for your flight, pay for your two-night hotel stay, and we're going to do a ride day, and you're going to win a motorcycle. So few ways to enter. Go to my website and get all that stuff figured out. So anyway, that's what I have for you. Hopefully everybody's having a good week, and until next time, leave a single track. Thanks.